Testing 1, 2. Okay, now I guess I've got the microphone on. So, somebody give me an audio check. Let's see what's going on here. Audio. Well, I'm going to take the chance that it's on here. Oh, God. Thank you. And let's see if I don't kill Wolfie. And I didn't kill Wolfie. So life is good. So let me pull this as close to me as I can get and say, this is William K. Murtaugh, Mert Witness 1. Welcome to the Murtathon. As I get my Pepsi open here. So, how's everybody doing tonight? Getting started okay. Whew, these glasses make me blind. As you may notice, I have a little bit of a new look tonight. This is my Murtathon hat. It's capable of doing a number of things. It's called a magic hat. I picked this thing up a while back and I've been waiting for it to get here. It got here a few days ago. And I would have had it on last night, except for I ran into a bit of a, shall we say, bit of breaking news. And I did blog about it. I'm still waiting for some information, but it appears that, let's see if I can bring this up. This individual may be hanging around a certain group of people. Now, I'm not absolutely certain this is the case. It's just that I've been contacted by an anonymous source, and they sent me an audio recording, or said they are going to eventually send me an audio recording of this man's trial, and his voice in that trial is alleged to be the same as someone that called a certain conspiracy theorist, claiming to be the 25th Amendment or some amendment to the United States Constitution. It's also called him a number of times. And the interesting thing about this individual is he is a pedophile. Now, his name is, see, it's on here somewhere, but his name is Lincoln, Ricky Lincoln, I believe. And he, at the time this mugshot was taken, was on the sexual predator registered sex offender list, and he was a child sex offender. And he went and he wrote a blog, and that blog was called Hobbit 88. And let's see, let me knock this out. And Hobbit 88 interjected himself in the Haley Cummings case and a little bit into the Casey Anthony case. Now, what happened was, of course, people found out that instead of being a woman, it was in fact a registered male child sex offender, and he was promptly put off the air. And this is the last message Hobbit ever posted on his WordPress blog in 2012. Hobbit is not supposed to be on the internet, and thus when this little gem showed up, it didn't bode well for him, because when the authorities found out, he was immediately picked up. I don't know if he ever served his complete term. I have not been able to find any information about him. The source that came to my attention claims that he not only is out there, but he is in contact with a certain group of bloggers and social media types that are connected with QAnon. And so I'm kind of at a holding pattern while I wait on this person to come forward with more information. Now, I can either confirm or deny the contention that this Hobbit 88 is once again surfaced and is in cahoots with people, but I can only go on what I'm given. So it's up to you folks to decide, and as I get more information in that direction, I will bring it forth. Now, other than that, there's not too much going on. There's nonsense going on over in the conspiracy theory crowd, but as I have stated, I am not going to mention anything about them by name unless it becomes necessary at some point. And right now, even with what was posted about me on certain social media pages, I don't think it's necessary to draw people's attention. I think that matters are going to take them, if they go forth with their threat, they are going to find out that that is not a wise step to take. So we'll just see how that goes. People have learned in the past not to go down that road, and I guess these people are going to have to learn it as well. So we'll see how that works out. Alright, I'm just... Oh, wrong one. It figures. So anyhow, I'm just going to, guess, sit by and read the chat, and we'll do the chat thing. And... yeah, Hobbit Levi was involved in the... You know, he would log on to the Haley Cummings case, and yes, I did get a haircut. I did my scalpathon like I always do. This way I don't have to, number one, I don't have to go to see barber, and number two, my head stays cooler in the sun or in the summer down here, because with all that mop that I had on there, I had a bit of a heat problem. And it's much cooler and much more comfortable not to have anything up there. So for about the next 6 months, you know, I'm going to look like a half-witted Kojak. And what's in a great bit of timing, I actually look like Hobbit. So that, you know, I may have kind of messed up on that one, but oh well. But so other than a threat being made against me once again, there isn't much going on in the kook department over there, except for someone's become a bit of a recording artist. I'll excuse me, I'll let that go. But anyway, that's what I thought. I killed me. We're going to run into the same problem as we had last night. There we go. I'm beginning to get the hang of this, so I'm not making as many screw-ups. Welcome, Golden, and welcome, Levi, welcome, Alex, welcome, Martha, Kingfish, hi to everybody. We'll do it that way. I don't know how many people I've got in chat, but it looks like about 50% of the viewing audience is in here, which is good. Don't be bashful. Feel free to talk about things. The exception, of course, is what I put up yesterday in regards to the conspiracy nuts. I don't want to give them any more attention, you know, because they don't deserve it. So they can just, you know, yammer amongst themselves. Other than a tidbit here and there, I'm not going to mention anybody by name. I'm not going to link anything, and so on and so forth. Oops, gotta turn that off so that doesn't happen again. Ugh. Okay, I'm gonna retire the hat. Oh, something just hit me in the... Oh, that's the charging cable. Kind of a nifty little thing. I can change the sign in it and everything, so And now it doesn't want to turn off. Come on, turn off. There. That way I give it a little bit of a rest. I don't know how much battery life is on the thing. Not much going on in the mainstream news other than the pandemic, and we're approaching 90,000 deceased on that, but that's hard to discuss without getting political, so I'm going to then I got to fly. Let's see. Now, if there are any Home Seth supporters in here, yes, I used this name, you are not welcome. And if I see a posting, it will be deleted forthwith. So, you have been warned. And I see that someone is already violating the rules. And boy, I wonder, you are going to be kicked out. Because you are known to be favorable to Home Seth, and I will not tolerate you being in here. So bye-bye. Yeah, this is a democracy. Rules are rules. I'm not going to have it. So anybody that supports Tim Homeseth, you may want to find yourself a different place to go, because you are not welcome here. And that's going to be the last time, I hope, I find it necessary to mention that idiot's name. So, the one thing I do find curious, though, is that Hobbit was well known during the Haley Cummings case, yet not once is his name mentioned by a certain individual or a certain group. He seems to have been ignored. I find that rather interesting, and this is true of all the alleged pedophiles. Monoxide's not mentioned. Terry's not mentioned. None of these people are mentioned. It's just one individual this particular conspiracy nut seems to be interested in, and I find that somewhat curious and worth noting. But it is what it is. So, we move on. So, we don't see anything. This is going to be kind of an interesting night, because there really isn't much going on. The Cynthia Absug case is still on hold, more or less. She tried and failed to get a, I don't know what, released, charges dismissed, or what, from the case that she's charged with. She's not even in jail, or at least wasn't, as far as I knew. So I'm not understanding why it would be necessary for the court to rule on her status. And the court did rule anyway. The case was dismissed. The Field McConnell case is on hold, as it has been for quite some time. Broward and Miami-Dade, however, are starting staged reopenings, and this means that we may see some movement in all the cases in the Broward circuit, including Field McConnell, in the coming months. I believe the earliest we can expect to see anything out of the McConnell cases sometime in mid-June. Could be as early as the 6th of June, but more like mid-June. They may hold their hearing that they were scheduled to hear on May 7th. So we'll see how that goes. And as it goes, I am getting closer to my my goal. People have been kind enough to keep subscribing. Let's see, let me go out to my channel, see what I can go in through a back door here. I am up to 805 subscribers, which is good progress. That means we're 195 subscribers short of the 1,000 goal. So when we get to 1,000, I'll be able to mobile live stream through Wi-Fi and be able to get credentialed through the courts. And I will be able to cover the Field McConnell case live from Broward County while mobile. So, cross our fingers on that one. Alright, for some reason I'm getting a down arrow right in the middle of a post. Yes, he did lie by. Hobbit had social media cases all over the internet, and the message board was one of them. That was a forum, and the forum was taken down by the federal authorities. His WordPress blog was blocked by WordPress, and they only post there now is the one that I posted. He never really went very far with the WordPress. The forum was the one that he used, and as a matter of fact, I think he pretended to be a female. Not quite so sure about that, but I know there's quite a few Hobbit name users out there that are kind of upset because the Hobbit is actually a character in the series, and he adopted that name to kind of infiltrate children's databases, which is what I think finally led to his being discovered. But he was a very active predator. Yeah, he's dropped off the radar, and I don't know why. The only time you get off the Megan's website is if you're deceased, but I was under the impression that the man is still alive. So if he, again, this person that contacted me claiming to know about Mr. Lincoln may, not be giving me accurate information. I personally looked on all the websites trying to find the Megan's Law site, and I cannot even find his criminal case. Because that is a mugshot of Mr. Lincoln, and yet I cannot find any case on him. So I'm not sure what's going on. So until I get, because that's what I messaged back to the person that sent me all this information, and I said, look, I'm not finding anything on this guy. I need to have some concrete proof that this guy even exists. I mean, usually the only way you get off that thing is if you're deceased, and if you're telling me he's alive, I need to have proof of that. So that's what I'm waiting on. I had not planned on releasing the information, but I decided to go ahead and do it. $250,000. Wow. Yeah, that's... Yeah, she beat out Field McConnell. He's only at $100,000. And so there's not much there. I mean, I don't know the status of the GoFundMe and all these accounts that are being set out to pay for his legal expenses. I was under the impression that his son was paying for the legal fees. And if that's not the case, and Phil's got himself even more financial problems because the lawyer will come after him like a pit bull for his money, and usually they like to be paid up front. So that's going to be interesting to see how this goes forward, because somebody has to be paying his retainer at minimum, and there has to be some kind of financial arrangement made to pay his legal fees regardless of whatever the outcome of the case is, whether it's acquittal, conviction, plea bargain, whatever. The lawyer is going to be paid, so that'll be interesting. And somebody is out $10,000 or $20,000. I think they charge 10%, so somebody's out $10,000. So when you figure the cost of a good defense attorney and the cost of the bond, that's $15,000 right off the bat, and that's not counting the fact that he has to pay for monitoring by the people, making sure that he complies with his house arrest, And so there's that money to be added into the mix, and it's not cheap. It's at a bare minimum of a couple $100 a month. So it's going to be quite a long time before that ankle bracelet is removed and their monitoring is stopped. So somebody's going to be heavily in debt by the time this is over with. That is in some cases, Martha. I'm not sure about the McConnell case because it's a felony and it has violence attached to it. So, and it also has to go with individual jurisdictions. So all we can do is wait and see. If he manages to beat this thing and gets released without the restrictions being held in place, then he got lucky. But, I'm going to reserve my opinion on that until, things progress. I'm not going to speculate on the case. I'm not going to predict one way or another how it's going to go. We're just going to watch the process as it flows through the legal system and see what happens down the road. Yeah, there's definitely a vigilante, but, and he's someone that does not believe in the due process. Does not believe that the bar lawyers are legitimate, yet he goes out and hires a bar lawyer, which I think is a little hypocritical, but this whole bunch are a bunch of hypocrites. I see stuff every day. There's this person over on Facebook that condones what Phil McConnell said on his broadcast, yet I say something that's not even close to what Phil McConnell says, and all of a sudden I'm accused of implying a death threat, and that's not what I was doing. But these people need hearing aids and brains in order to understand the English language, apparently. Well, what had happened, Martha, there was a news report that was made on the 14th that she had gone to court, and because of the situation with the coronavirus, wanted the case dismissed or something, and the judge denied it. So Cynthia Absug is not out of the woods when it comes to her case. And, that's the state of Colorado. As for the state of Florida, I don't know what they're doing. Phil McConnell is charged with felony stalking. In there was a threat of violence in the court charge to him, so that would mean that he would be in the same boat as Cynthia Absug. And the third case out of Kentucky, I haven't heard anything about. So there's all these cases going into the court system. There still is an investigation into the circumstances behind Absug and those that may or may not have helped her with this alleged kidnap plot. So there's that. Thanks for the comment about the hat. Yeah, it's kind of an interesting little novelty I picked up. I'll be using it from time to time in the future. So this was kind of a quick experiment to see how it looked on air, and it looks different than you see it live in real life. It's basically just blue lettering and a white and a black hat, but it comes out and it has a panel that shows up on screen, which makes it look even different. And I kind of thought that was a bit of a surprise. So, and it'll be just one of these. I look around every once in a while for something to try and enhance things a little bit. So we'll be using that down the road. Yeah, that is correct. You have weapons possession in there, and the testimony of the daughter. So it's, the weight of the evidence there is rather heavy. So now the defense is going to have to argue whatever they can against that particular point. And so but I think that's one of the reasons the judge did not drop the charges or grant her motion. You get. Let's see, where is trying to look something up here. Okay, I'm not seeing what I'm looking for here. So Monday, I'm going to check into the case a little bit more thoroughly, and I'll either do a yardathon or something like that, because I'm going to continue with the 2 or 3 day a week Murtathons on the weekend, and I may cut back to Friday and Saturday. The only reason I decided to do a Sunday Murtathon was because I missed yesterday, because I had an extremely busy day, part of which was because of this development with Hobbit, and there's a couple of other things that are in the mix. Hobbit's not the only thing that's caused me a bit of a weird day yesterday. There's other things in the works that I'm waiting to hear about. The Hobbit was not the reason I was holding things off for a few days. It was something that I had planned on bringing out either Monday or Tuesday, so I'm a couple days ahead on that, since until more comes out about Hobbit, there's really not much I can do about it, because I'm not going to sit here and discuss something that hasn't been proven yet. I just think it's interesting that all of a sudden his name has come up under the circumstances that it has. I don't recall mentioning Hobbit recently, so I'm a little surprised that his name just kind of popped up out of nowhere. Abzug did own a gun, but also one of the guy that was a so-called bodyguard had one, and the guy that was not known if the medical student had one. I don't think he did. But what I think happened was, I think the daughter saw the person who claimed to be a bodyguard with a gun, and thus assumed her mother had one on her. The fact that they found a weapon at the house kind of leans a little bit in the direction of the prosecution, because this is a woman that never had a gun. Now, there was a claim made that someone tried to peek in her window or break in the house or something, but that could be a false narrative. So that's going to have to come out in court, whether or not that particular claim is true or not. Yeah, Wilson did have a gun, but what happened, Martha, is when you go through the police report, it says that Cynthia had purchased the gun, and I think there was an indication that the gun shop owner had testified to the fact that she had purchased the gun. I'm not certain of that, and that will come out in court. The problem with this case is, as far as I know, the paperwork is still sealed, so we don't know the exact facts of whether or not there was more than one gun, and if the first gun was traceable back to the gun shop as purchased by her. So that will be the situation. Wilson was not driving the car when she was apprehended. That was this kid from Colorado who was a medical student and decided to barge into her situation as an act of goodwill. Big mistake on his part, but that's what happened. The other guy was the one that we kept seeing on Phil McConnell's show every once in a while, strutting around with a gun in his hand. And that's the one that they claim is the bodyguard. So, yeah, the bodyguard is the alleged boyfriend of Miss Dunklin. Not much has been heard about her lately. So that's another one that we haven't really caught up on. That's another one that I'm going to have to start watching. Because I would imagine that they have the same situation in Arkansas as they do everywhere else when it comes to Corona and the court system. There was the fight over custody of the children over her conduct by the ex-husband. Yeah, Phil has a gun collection, and he has displayed his gun in the past, and it's noted that he has a collection of guns that's worth a considerable amount of money. You know, antique guns, World War II, and so on. Yeah, her father lost the primary, so he's out of the picture completely. He was running for the Republican nomination to run for for Senate in his district, and he lost. Yeah, the last I had heard is that she was seeking legal counsel and that there was the dispute over the custody matter was still ongoing. Because I don't know, it was said that the divorce hadn't been finalized yet. So that'll be one of these things that will need to be updated as time goes on, but, you know, and it's probably a month or two off before we start getting concrete information about all these cases that are swirling around. I do understand that all the parties in this kidnapping mess are still under investigation by federal authorities, as well as other matters that have been investigated by federal authorities since August, and possibly prior to August. So nobody should be relaxing quite yet. Martha, I don't know that. I don't know. I wasn't paying attention to Dunklin at that time, so I don't know if she went over there or not. She certainly had the financial means to do so. It's a fairly wealthy family, so it's hard to say. video. For some reason, that report by the Colorado police station is not showing up on Google. Yeah, the children could say with. Yeah, they seem to do a lot over. This thing seemed to have been centered for at some point over in Wales. The other guy who claimed to have started this whole thing is from Canada. I don't know if he went over there. Well, that would explain her involvement, and might explain why they wanted to get Cynthia and this other woman out of the United States. They wanted to send them over to Wales for whatever reason. Although I don't know what the extradition laws are in the United Kingdom when it comes to custody issues or kidnapping children and taking them over to taking them out of the United States. I was under the impression there was an extradition agreement. So if she did go over to Wales and was discovered over there, they just bring her right back. Welcome to all the latest comers, moderate and the rest of everybody. She was up in Canada. I know that they're, but they wouldn't be sending I think she tried to get into Canada when she was arrested, but the main goal was to get them overseas. It wouldn't do them any good to send them up to Canada because they just ship them right back. We have an extradition agreement with Canada to prevent such a thing. They would need to get these people into a country that does not have an extradition agreement with the United States when it comes to custody issues of children. I think what happened was with these people is they made half-baked plans that would not have seen the light of day if they had gone through, because there would have been problems at the border. Especially now with the coronavirus, Canada's being real strict with border crossings, and there is a good chance that she would have been halted at the border and turned over to U.S. authorities. At a minimum, she would have been turned back. And good evening, Grey Moon. Well, what help I got into the right. Well, they didn't get to Washington. They got as far as the woman's house in Virginia, and she was supposed to have been the one to get the diplomatic passport, and that fell through. I don't believe she ever got the passport. I think what she tried to do is get a letter, and that's why they went to Florida, is to try and get some kind of paperwork from that idiot in Ocala, which wouldn't have done them any good anyway. So that basically went nowhere. Because if she had had the so-called diplomatic passport, it would have been discovered, number one, and number two, again, it's not going to do her any good in Canada because she's not a diplomat. And I don't know what their line of thought was when they came up with the diplomatic passport thing. That's whoever was doing that would have been violating State Department rules, and that would have cost someone not only their position within the State Department, but also may have wound up in prison over it because it's illegal. Okay, I'm trying to see something here. Alright, well, I just checked, and for whatever reason, the field report has not been removed from YouTube. So I don't know what I think he's probably getting a reprieve because of the corona case. But he's slowly being thrown down the road as the channel has been taken over by Kirk Pendergrass. Well, they may have stood a better chance in South America because there's countries down there that do not have extradition agreements with the United States. I don't know enough about that to know if that would have been the brightest idea in the world, but they probably could have gotten away with it if they had gone to either Central or South America. Now, there's countries over in Europe that they could have gotten to. Because again, they've got to get them out of the United States, and getting down into Mexico right now, which is kind of, if you're going to go by land, you're going to have to go down through Mexico. If you're going to go by air, you're going to have a problem because, she's a fugitive from justice on a capital felony. So she can't get on an airplane or any public transportation for that matter. So they would have had to have gone by car to wherever they were going. And they might have had a problem at the border. A lot of this stuff took place, of course, before the corona situation hit. So they may have had a possibility of success back then, but it's hard to say. But they were going about everything all wrong. And in the end, she was apprehended on her way north. And she was not that far from Canada when she was apprehended. And yes, it could have been Central America, but just depends on what countries in Central America would allow her to be in there without fearing extradition to the United States. And the problem is that she would be going into a country where she would be in a diminished lifestyle. It's not a pleasant experience to live in some of these countries. And someone would have to finance her in a way to where she would have a decent standard of living. You just don't pack off and go to a foreign country without knowing what you're getting yourself into. And you may find that you're going to a foreign country was not such a hot idea. There's people speak foreign languages down there. English is not their primary language. Spanish in some of these countries is not a primary language. Portuguese is. And even the dialects in Spanish are quite different. So she'd be going into a completely foreign environment, quite literally, and so would the kid, because there's only one child that would have been taken down there in Edsug's case. The daughter had no intention of going anywhere. So you get, it's just that anybody that would have been thinking straight would have known right off the bat that was an extremely bad idea to begin with. Because even if you go over into the United Kingdom or any English-speaking country in Europe or elsewhere, you're still in a cultural shock situation for both her and the kids. And I don't know if she was the kind of person that would be able to do it. And I still think that getting her over into the foreign country was not intended to be to her benefit. I think it is my opinion that they were going to traffic the children, that this is a cover for something more sinister. You know, these people aren't out to save children, they're out to gather them like crops. And there's no telling what would happen to these kids in these foreign countries. But I think the mother would have found that she would have made a serious mistake going over and getting involved with this group. Okay, so if she's still in jail, then she didn't get out of jail, which apparently was what she was trying to do. So she, the coronavirus did not save her from getting out of jail. It did not get her bond reduced. So she's going to have to stew in there. Now, what's funny about that is she's been going on the internet bragging that the coronavirus is a big hoax. And here, the coronavirus is a big hoax, yet she's using it as an excuse to get out of jail. That's kind of hypocritical. And I wrote about that in the blog when this story broke. I'm writing things on my blog that are not going to be put on this channel. So if you want to read the blog, I try and make it as brief and to the point as possible. And, I usually tag my stuff over into Twitter so you can find it there. Sometimes if the story is important enough, I'll link it to my Facebook account. But for the most part, it's going to be on Twitter. Was she apprehended again after being apprehended in Montana? No, she was sent back to Colorado. I think she waived extradition and went back voluntarily. But in any case, she went back to Colorado. She was transported back there, actually. And I guess she's in jail. I thought maybe they released her on bond, but apparently she didn't make bond, so she's in jail. And she's not going to be able to get out of jail because the motion that she filed with the court was denied by the judge, and this was on the 14th of May. So that means that, we're at a status quo when it comes to Cynthia. As for the woman in Kentucky, I have no idea what the situation is with her. I'd have to check. So I got to go through my files and check with the county clerk in Kentucky and see where the hell she's at. But she's in more serious trouble because she actually took the child. So, that's going to lead to quite a big problem for her. Because she actually did the kidnapping. She may not have used a weapon, but she interfered with parental custody, which I believe was one of the charges against her. She may face lesser charges since she stayed within the state. So we'll just have to wait and see as far as what the specifics are on all these cases. But I believe there's 5 cases now that are being investigated that are affiliated with the Children's Crusade and the rest of the QAnon group. In memory, I don't know. I think it's in northwest Kentucky or central Kentucky. I'm not sure which, but it's the county where she resides, because she had gone someplace with the kids. They apprehended her there, and they took her back to her place of residence. And the child, or children, I think there were twins, are back in the custody of their grandmother, who had custody of them to begin with. What the heck is her name anyway? My memory sucks. I've completely forgotten her name. It's a real easy name to remember, but I forgot it. Because I can think of it as Lawrence or something like that. I don't know. Geez, a lot of women are getting arrested in Kentucky. All coronavirus related. Quarantine. California arrested 128 pounds of marijuana. Ooh, somebody was going to have one. Yeah, it'd take me forever to find that until I find out what her name is. Well, I don't think she ever left the state of Kentucky. So she won't get charged under federal kidnapping, whatever the state law is regarding whether or not she'd be charged with kidnapping or with interfering with the custody of a child. 2 counts since it was twins. Yeah, I went on a lose your hair diet. I think I lost 2 pounds of hair today. But yeah, I was long overdue for a haircut, and I finally got around to it. I usually do this because this way I go for months without having to get another haircut. And so I'm going to be a fuzzy Kojak for a while. I have awful thin hair, and when my hair gets thin, it just goes all over the place. It was getting to be sloppy looking on the show. I looked like alfalfa with little locks of hair flying all over the place, and I was beginning to look like that dude in the car with the way his hair just goes all over. So I decided to get my hair cut, and so now I sport the bald man look for a while. There is no pandemic exception to the Constitution. Yeah, my hair kind of went poof. So. Well, below the thing about extradition, if she is within the state, I would be under the impression they would just send her back to the original jurisdiction rather than go through extradition proceedings because she's in the home state. You know. I got it online. They had, strangely enough, it was on Facebook. They were advertising them on Facebook. And I decided to take a chance. I said, well, this would be an interesting idea for the show, so I ordered it on Facebook. The ad is no longer there. These things come out of China, so it took almost 2 months to get it. It came during the middle of the week, because I had ordered this thing in the end of April. The end of April or the first week of March. I can't remember exactly when. When you order stuff out of China, it takes a month to get here. You know, if anybody's ever bought stuff on Wish, you'll be waiting at least a month and sometimes longer. There's a couple things on Wish that have been ordered that are that are not here. So you kind of take your chances as to whether this stuff is going to get here or not. Yeah, and one of these days I'm going to check with PayPal, who I use to pay for stuff, and see what their policy is when it comes to Wish. So. What's non-essential? I haven't missed a whole heck of a lot, and then, just remember you can always go back when the show is processed and watch the recording, because that's what a lot of people do. I always put it on to record the show after I go off air so that people that miss the show can see it. So, you missed the talk about Hobbit and so on. Well, let me fire this sucker up. I don't know if it's going to show the message or not. Alright, for those that missed it, this is the hat. And basically right now is all it says is welcome to the Murtathon. So, the only problem about wearing this thing indoors is it's hot. Yeah, it's kind of an interesting little hat. It worked better than I thought it was going to. Yeah, so I'll be using it. Loyal? Not really. He's still under house arrest. Nothing has changed, although photographs of him are appearing on certain social media accounts. The trial date has not been scheduled due to the corona situation in Broward County. The hearing that was going to be held in May got canceled indefinitely. So we're kind of in a holding pattern until at least June, when things start to get back in gear again. So, the good doctor is up and running his own YouTube channel, so he's doing updates about field as well. Somebody has started a donation fund to pay for Phil McConnell's legal expenses, which I find rather odd, and so on and so forth. And I'll be curious if any funds are garnered for field, if they actually go to field, or if the funds just kind of disappear. Because anybody can start a fundraising on the behalf of somebody else, but whether the money gets to them or not is another question. So that will have to remain to be seen. I was also under the impression that you cannot use GoFundMe or PayPal to raise money for legal defenses. This is something that came up a long time ago because everybody was using these websites for the raising of okay. Okay, I'm looking at, right now I'm down in GoFundMe's terms of service, which of course is going to be apparently it is allowed. Actually, I'm going to have to go down. charities, ownership, donor listed data, taxes, modifications, public, unsolicited information, third party, promotions, events, prohibited content. Okay, let's see what we have here. User contents or campaigns that are fraudulent, misleading, inaccurate, dishonest, or impossible. Now, this is something people need to remember about the individual who claims to be an agent of a foreign government. This rule applies to him. And he does have a GoFundMe. So anybody that wants to report him can use that. Drugs, narcotics, knives, explosives, ammunition, firearms, gambling. Okay, this is an interesting one. Funding a ransom, human trafficking, exploration, vigilantism, bribes, or bounty. Now, he could also be classified as a vigilante concerning some of the things that he has stated in his social media accounts. So that's another one he can be reported for. Authorized sale of designer. Boy, it's going to take forever to go through this because that may be a gray area as to whether or not you can use GoFundMe for solicitation of donations for legal defense. But since the person is claiming to be an agent of the United States government and needs donations under that guise, that could be considered a fraudulent reason for soliciting donations, and the account could be closed down for that reason. So that's something that well, I've used PayPal for years, and I have not had any problems with them. When I write them and dispute something, they're very quick to make a decision. They contact the vendor and say, hey, what's going on? And the vendor either satisfies the complaint or they credit me back the money. And every time I've gone to PayPal, they've credited me back the money. I've only had 2 instances where I did not get what I was promised, and I had to go to PayPal to do it. Yeah. I don't know if it'll get shut down or not. Frankly, I don't care, because if people are stupid enough to give money to Phil McConnell's legal defense fund, that's, their problem. It's, number one, they're not going to collect very much money. He would have to have over $100,000. Well, that's the bond. The bond is $10,000 alone. You're looking at, like I said earlier, anywhere from $5,000 to $15,000 in defense funds. So that's a pretty good amount for someone to fork out, or any group to fork out. It's achievable, but if people want to give that kind of money to someone to threaten violence against a woman, I guess we know what their view of women are. Because it is an act of violence. He made death threats against an officer of the court. And if people seem to think it's okay to do that, then I guess they'll give money to Phil McConnell. No, I certainly did not donate to it. You know, I'm not that stupid, number one. And number two, I don't have the money to donate to anything. I don't support Phil McConnell. I have my opinions of Phil McConnell. I think it is my opinion that he's guilty, but his adjudication is not up to me. It's up to the legal system. He has a right to be represented by counsel, even if that counsel is a licensed bar certified attorney, which Phil McConnell does not believe in. And it's going to be up to the courts and a jury to decide what Phil McConnell's fate is going to be. So, I'm going to cover the case just like I've covered cases in the past. I've covered the Casey Anthony trial, and I've covered the trial of Derek Lassiter from gavel to gavel. So, we'll see how it goes. Yeah, Dwayne, that'll be a wait and see thing. If that trial does go to, if that case does go to trial, it's probably not going to be until the fall at the earliest. And we are extremely early in that one. Preacher Dan has been served. I have no indication of what the next step on the part of the plaintiffs is going to be. The operative word is was. I am now, my only source of income as of today is Social Security. I do not have any other means of income. I lost my business back in the big recession we had in 2008, 2009. You know, the haters that have been on my ass since 2006 did everything they could to put me out of business, and they succeeded. Because, you know, back then it did not take much to derail a business, and you know, people put up bad ratings on my business, and they did all kinds of things, and you know, I had no choice but to close my doors. And because I was a widower at the time, which was lucky on my part, I was able to draw Social Security. And now that I'm over the age of 66, I'm on my own Social Security account. So, you know, this is the, you know, when you get involved in things and you get haters, you risk your life, literally, and your well-being. And I did both, and I paid a huge price for it. And, you know, and I'm still being harassed to this day. Someone's gotten on Facebook and claimed that I made a death threat, and I made no such thing. And I've already talked, just as a precaution, when I read that, I called the law enforcement agency that has jurisdiction over me, told them exactly what's going on, and they said, you clearly did not make a death threat. They even looked at the video that I sent them with the timestamp in place, and they said, no, you did not make a death threat. If anything, you did a favor to the individual by warning him that there's people he's hanging around with that might want to do him harm. So, you know, whoever decides to do anything on that, they're going to find themselves beating a dead horse, because the authorities are already aware of not only the video, but of the person who is encouraging people to call the cops. So, I nipped that one in the bud. I'm in Florida. If you're asking me, I'm in Apopka, Florida, which is about an hour and 15, hour and a half from Sarasota, almost 2 hours. So I don't know who you were asking for that one, Golden. You know, and what's funny is I actually defended that conspiracy nut for a long time over on my various blogs, and it's funny that the person that posted a screenshot of the particular article in question where I stated that I was neutral when it came to that conspiracy nut failed to put the link to the blog. I thought that was telling, because they didn't want anyone in their cult to read the complete article where I spelled out in detail why I took the stand that I did. I think if people were to read it in context, they would understand why I eventually changed my mind when it came to wholesale. And I mentioned them again. Sorry about that. I am in Orange County, Florida. It will take me, when I do go down to Broward County for the trial, it will take me roughly 3 hours to get down there. More than likely, I will go down the night before any court date, so I'm not having to fight traffic at that time of the morning. The traffic in southeast Florida is unbelievable. Of course, this was pre-Corona times. I don't know what it's going to be in the middle of June, although people are starting to show up at beaches and stuff, and they're already talking about going into phase 1 reopening down there. But I am roughly 20 miles, give or take, from the middle of Orlando, Central Florida over here. So if you look on a map and just follow Highway 441 out of Orlando, you will come up to the northwest to Apopka, and I'm on the westernmost part of Apopka. I do think that the conspiracy nuts are growing in numbers. It's just, there's a concrete base of these sort of individuals that have been around forever. Over the past 4 years, they've been emboldened to come out. When this QAnon business started up, they just came out in droves. But if you've ever listened to America Coast to Coast, or Coast to Coast America, it's called, they were all over. Rush Limbaugh has like 20 million of them on his show. So they, and you got Sean Hannity, you've got Glenn Beck, all these people draw these conspiracy theorist type. So they've always been out there. It's just social media has made it so easy for them. There's no fact checks on these people. They can say just about anything they damn well please. So you're never going to stop them. They're always going to be there. You can counter them with the truth, but the point of the fact is that they're always going to be there. There's no illusion to that. Grace the beach in your Speedo and live stream it. Oh, God, you really want to scare people off my show. I would not look good in a Speedo. Oh, God, and I just had the biggest cramp in my neck. I don't know what caused that. I don't like Speedos. I've never worn one. I know the fabric is a little uncomfortable. It's funny, they started, and they're basically Speedos are used by athletes, and everybody just started wearing them. But I certainly would not look good in a Speedo. Now, the funny thing about the beach is you may see me over there soon, and that's going to give you a little bit of a hint as to what I'm going to be doing. But someday in the near future, you are going to see me at the Atlantic Ocean. So stay tuned for that one. That's one of the things I want to try and live stream from the East Coast. And I will be over on the East Coast starting the 26th of May. I will probably do a live stream from there. I'll be doing a stream on the way over to the East Coast, and I will be there until the 28th, And so the 26th, 27th, and 28th, I will be live streaming from the eastern Florida. As to how I'm going to be doing the live streams is up for question. Since I'll be staying in a hotel on 2 of the 3 days, I'll be live streaming from the hotel, at least. If I don't meet my goal of having 1,000 people on YouTube by May 26th, I will live stream on Twitter, and then I will do recorded versions of my days in the East Coast on YouTube. Do you have a hot neck brace? I have one that I microwave. It helps. No, this is just, it was a quick, I'm not sure what caused it. It was kind of a quick little bit of a cramp, and then it went away. I've never had these before. It's just one of these things that, whoop. What is my opinion of Mark Levin? You know, I haven't paid too much attention to Mark. I would have to watch some of his shows to see just exactly what he's doing before I make a comment on it. Yeah, Nancy Grace is... I've never liked Nancy Grace's style. I would gather personally she's okay. I mean, Levi likes her and everything. But personally, I just don't like her style. Mark is a constitutional scholar. Well, I would have to watch him and see if his interpretation of the Constitution is something I would agree with or not. I mean, some of these people that call themselves constitutionalists are no such thing. And the problem with the Constitution is there's so many different opinions on what it means and what each amendment in the Constitution means, you don't know who to believe. So, you know, it's the thing about people that watch someone like Mark Levin is they've got to make up their own mind what they feel is his take. Is he saying what they agree with or not? That's the only thing you can do. Well, then him and I have something in common because my voice can be considered annoying. So. I'll have to check him out just for the heck of it. Because I've been criticized for my voice, and I certainly can't sing. And a certain conspiracy nut's been releasing songs left and right over on his Facebook channel, so I guess he's going back into the music business. Why in hell would you want to get me on Fox News? I don't even listen. I don't watch Fox News. God. Dwayne, I don't know. I don't know what the situation is between those two. She copies everything that he does, whether he sings, whatever article he puts up, and she basically is his handler for all intents and purposes. She's given him a ton of money, so. As to whether or not they're doing the mattress mambo, that's up for speculation. Yeah, I seem to have a permanent apartment in his head. Even for the most part that I've quit talking about this moron, he just is still there, and so is his handler. I've declared 2 days in a row now that I don't intend to talk about this moron, and they keep putting stuff up about me. And so, it doesn't matter. He's not gonna be the focus of my attention from here on out. So, I guess they can make all the defamatory accusations they want, and there's not a damn thing I can do about it. I'd have to start a GoFundMe to reach a $15,000 goal for legal counsel to go after these people. And that's something I'm not going to do because people can't afford to be doling out money with this virus situation. So I've even suspended asking for donations for my trips because people have more important things to worry about right now. So I've basically put that on the shelf. I'm going to have to do my coverage of these cases from my desk for the most part. Field McConnell's the only one I'm going to be able to go to because I live in the state of Florida, and I'm within half a day's drive of the courthouse. Well, apparently, they probably were, and apparently he has no say about it. So apparently that may or may not lead to a problem in the marriage at some point. I don't know. Actually, there's several blogs that I've written. The one that I use the most is linked to my Twitter account. Whenever I put up an article, I'll link the primary blog so that you have an idea of what I write about. Alright, this is one of them. Let's see which one this is. Alright, this is one of my older blogs that I'm going to be putting up. And this is where you'll find a lot of articles that I wrote about the conspiracy nut. You would have to go back to 2010, 2011 to find the articles. But this is my older blog that I rarely post on. But the last I posted in that one is 2019. So let's see. And then okay, let me do it this way. I'll go over on Twitter because I'll link to my last post that I have over there. Because I don't normally promote the blog here because I tend to keep the blog separate from this channel because there's things I put in the channel but this is my latest blog article here that I wrote 11 hours ago. And from what you can do is you can go to the home page and it'll show you my blog from the beginning. And some of you that don't like my politics won't be happy with this blog, but I had switched over from politics. But it's one of the reasons I usually don't promote this, is because I don't want to get into a convoluted conversation about politics. But there's that one. And then the latest article in there is about the Hobbit. So you can read all about that and what the situation is with that. Now what I do is I use my blog to discuss things that I won't discuss here. So you're going to see stuff about the conspiracy nut that's going to be on the blog that's not going to be in this channel, because it's this channel where I'm keeping him out of. They apparently don't monitor my blog, but not that it makes any difference. But well, thank you, Marty. I think I'm beginning to get the hang of the software. Of course, it's just as I speak. you know, it's going to take a little bit. I'm going to automate the switching. I have something called the Stream Deck, and I'm going to program the Stream Deck. And so all I got to do is hit a button, and I won't be making these little mistakes like I just made. So that'll be coming up. Talked to War 2 days ago. Okay. Well, everybody's welcome as long as they comply with the rules. I gotta take this hat off. I'm getting hot. This is not a warm weather hat. It's, you know, I have hats that are ventilated that I wear down here. So I'm gonna have to. Whew, got a wet head. Yeah, the blog is a little on the political side. So, but I've moved away from the politics and the newer articles. Because frankly, I'm not really that interested. I use Twitter for my politics. Twitter and Facebook. And I tend to keep politics out of this blog because I've never really wanted to use this blog for politics. At one point I was going to, and then I changed my mind because I figured it's just not worth it because, you know, it just gets into a pissing match, and I don't want to get into too many pissing matches. Yeah, this actually came out pretty good. So things are starting to work out a little bit. The only thing I have to work on is continuity. That is coming up with something to talk about through the entire live stream, rather than having protracted periods of what we call dead air in the business. Well, I have no air conditioning in this room. I have a little fan that runs over here in the corner, and that's it. This is just... it would cost too much money to get the air conditioner fixed, and I just decided the heck with it. I'll just... you know, I don't really mind the heat. You know, as long as I don't turn into a sweathead or something. I'm fine with it. And I do have a towel. If I get too sweaty, I can just take a swipe of my towel like this. I had a blue one, but I use that for the mic so that it's not picking up the noise of the desk so much. You know, the Blue Yeti's a good mic, but it picks up every sound on the damn desk. You know, when I beat the desk. So, yeah, goodbye, Ranger. So I just have to do with what I can. You know, so we're gradually improving things as they go along. I like this new software, and I'm probably going to keep it. What do I think happened to Johnny Ghost? I don't know. There's a lot there that I really need to look in more thoroughly. I've taken kind of a quick overview of the case, but I'm going to have to look at it real close and come up with whatever opinion I have on the case. But that's another one of these intriguing cases. Call who? You know, I don't... You know, let's not get me involved in any problems, guys. Well, Dwayne, if you ever decide to come on and give your opinion, you're more than welcome to. I'll leave that up to you. Yeah, I'll have to get back over on Discord. I've kind of been ignoring that service lately. You know, too many new things to learn. Oh, okay, well, joke's on me, haha. But I'm going to look more into that case because I was asked to, just to give my opinion of it. You know, the only problem is once as these cases grow cold and they stretch out for as long as they do, you know, it's kind of hard to come up with a concrete answer. You know, you just looks like it's going to go down as a cold case for the foreseeable future. Well, I'm glad my Kojak look is going over well. This isn't the first time I've been on the air with a Kojak look. I'm beginning to sound like Dr. Fushi with my getting a little hoarse. Yeah, well, the conspiracy theorists have a habit of barging in on these cases and making a complete mess out of them. It just seems to be their mantra. They want to ruin anything they can touch. "1982, wow, that is an old case." Alright, Mystify. Because I'm going to have to go back and review it. The video link that was sent to me, because I don't have enough knowledge of the circumstances to adequately discuss it yet. But Johnny Ghosh, that case is one of the first that started up the milk carton campaigns, where they put kids' faces on milk cartons, and so that was the earliest of that. But I do have somewhat of a memory of that, because I remember vaguely when that case broke out. Yeah, I got the Wikipedia up right now. You know, and it's actually I did do something, because somebody sent a photo that I think he was kidnapped along with like 3 or 4 other people, and the picture showed up very recently on social media, and it was also made the news. See, and this was. When was this? This article was posted 3 years ago, and the photograph had come up with the 3 boys that got kidnapped. They were shown tied on a bed, and and they were wanting to know if it was Johnny, and so forth. And that's the last that I have personally seen anything about that case. So I'm going to be, and I think this is one the conspiracy theorist got his hands on. And there were 4 that were taken. Johnny, Jeff Guckart, I guess his name is, James Quickart, so there were brothers, and this Jeff Gannon. Or wait a minute, what am I looking at here? No, that's my mistake, sorry. I'm not so sure what's going on with that, but like I said, I'm going to have to go back and look at that, because the one I'm looking at now, there's a cold case spotlight from NBC News, where they've got the boys up here on the article and was showing they've got so I would have to see if there's anything current, but so far it's a cold case. You know, to be that long ago, that's pretty old. Well, that would be interesting if that would turn out to be the case. There was a story not too long ago of a guy that he had been kidnapped and I guess held by his father or somebody relative, and he went to apply for a Social Security card or something and found that things were screwed up, and he found out who he really was based on that. And that was also, I wrote an article on that in my blog when I saw that. Because I always figured that was a possibility with Trenton Duckett and maybe even Haley Cummings. It was the reason I wrote the caretaker letter that got me in so much trouble. Is there was always that remote chance that someone had been given Trenton by Melinda Duckett, and that possibly there was an identity change or something, because Trenton was fairly young and that sort of thing might have been possible. But then as he got older and he started checking into his past life, he might come across the fact that, something happened to him back in Leesburg, Florida. That was kind of a theory. And, that's always a theory because, this kid that showed up and had his discovered who he really was, got into that a little bit. So you never can give up hope. You have to weigh the logical possibilities, but never give up hope that maybe the child is alive out there somewhere. So just trying to see if I've got that article in there. Going down through here. Well, maybe it's not on this blog. I thought I had written about this, but I guess not. Jeez, I can't even remember what I write on my own blogs. Yeah, I must not have written about it. I think it's on my other blog, because I'm not finding it here. Because this wasn't too long ago. It should have shown up. Yeah, I didn't write about it. I thought I did. What it is it's on my other blog. But it's basically a kid that turned adult, tried to get his Social Security number, and found out that he was a missing child. Dwayne, I think that there's a possibility that Misty had something to do with the death of Haley, be it deliberate or accidental. Uh, Law enforcement has serious questions about her. She did not pass a polygraph machine. At one point, she even walked out on one. Uh, and they just don't have enough evidence to convict her. And the funny thing is, if she had been convicted of manslaughter, she would have gotten the exact same time in jail that she's serving now. Uh, because it's a stretch to prove intentional homicide. If it was an accident or what they call negligent manslaughter, then you're looking at 10 years, maybe 20 at the worst. But I think she probably would have gotten 5 to 10. She might have got out with gain time. She would have gotten out on 70% of her sentence. So, but she could still be convicted. She could still be tried on a capital crime involving Haley, because there's no double jeopardy yet. So she's not out of the hook. There's no statute of limitation on homicide. So it's she, for the rest of her life, she's going to be looking over her shoulder to see if they find evidence that she had something to do with the death of Haley Cummings. So I know once she gets out of prison, which isn't going to be too much longer, they're going to be keeping a close eye on her. The general public's going to keep an eye on her, and law enforcement's going to keep an eye on her, and that goes for Ron Cummings as well. Well, I'll tell you, Marty, it doesn't do any good to get into a screaming rage and start throwing tantrums about any accusation that's been made against me by anyone. It doesn't do any good. It is what it is. You try and deal with things that you think are not fair the best way you can. Some people you just never are going to convince them of the truth. And that's all I can do, is I can say, this is my case, this is what happened to me, and it's like Ripley, believe it or not. And so that's just the way I deal with things in life, because it's not productive to sit there and start going into screaming and tantrums like the conspiracy theorist has done a couple times on his show. He's very high strung, and it comes out if you push the right buttons. And he's just in a world of fantasy. He's got people around him that enable that fantasy, and it's going to lead to his destruction in the long run. So, whatever damage to me has been done, I can't go back in a time machine and fix it. It's, you just live with what happened in your past and you move on to the future. That's all you can do. Dwayne, that was one of the theories that went around, that she was kidnapped by drug people because of the problems that Ron and Misty were having, because they were heavily into drug sales and so forth. That's what finally got them arrested. And there was a story of where one of the children saw Haley being carried off by a man in a ninja suit. And that part has never really been proven. There just has not been enough evidence in the case to go anywhere with it. They can't prove that Misty had anything to do with it, although she is at the top of the person of interest list. And there's no evidence that she was kidnapped by child traffickers or any of this other nonsense that the conspiracy theorist puts forward. It's just a completely unsolved case. It's a cold case. And there's a question of whether or not it'll ever be solved. It's just like the Trenton Duckett case. There's nothing there to draw a conclusion to the case. Well, I certainly don't go around claiming to be a media spokesman for a government agency. I'm just a retired truck driver slash businessman who operates a YouTube channel. And that's the extent of it. I'm nobody special. I'm not going to be this great solver of anything. I'm just going to state my opinion and have my little Murtathons and roundtables for as long as I can able to do it. It's funny that the conspiracy theorist types seem to garner more attention and faith than people that seek the truth. It's just a strange phenomenon of today's society. Okay, what happened? I won't talk with him by name, but I came across the conspiracy theorist shortly after his involvement in the Haley Cummings situation. There was a blogger out of Atlanta, Georgia, who went around attacking people for no good reason. She just liked attacking people. And she went after people that wanted to boycott Casey Anthony and so on and so forth because they hated her over what happened to Kaylee Anthony. And so this woman would go after people and she would dox them, put up their personal name and addresses, telephone numbers, try to get them fired from jobs, just make their life absolutely miserable. And I came in early in the process and objected to her doing that. I said, you're fine to disagree with these people, but you shouldn't be putting pictures of their houses, their names, their addresses, their telephone numbers, attack their children, try to get people fired, that sort of thing. I mean, it's just not called for. And she was doing the same thing to Tim Holmseth. Now, I never agreed with what Tim Holmseth said in his various things that he was putting out there on social media. I just disagreed with the way he was being treated by this particular blogger, and I defended him. And that cost me dearly, because then the crowd that was against Timothy Holmseth, including this particular blogger, turned against me, and I wound up going through sheer hell. And I wrote an article called Frenemies and a number of articles that pointed out this history, that I defended Tim Holmseth up until I was finally starting to get information that Tim Holmseth wasn't all cracked up to what he says he was, that he was in fact a phony. Way back when he got into this business of being a protected witness for the FBI, and it progressed from there. He started accusing the governor of the state of Florida of being a pedophile. Strangely enough, the guy was a Republican. He eventually started accusing the then state attorney, Pamela Bondi, of being involved in pedophilia. And she was and is a Republican, and she is right now working for Donald Trump. And Rick Scott is a Republican United States Senator and an ally of Rick Scott. And it goes right up to the present day. He was said to be a protected witness for the FBI. He was under protection of the U.S. Marshal Service. Then it moved over to the Navy SEALs. Then he got involved in this tribunal that was being run by this guy that thinks there's a slave colony on Mars. He was supposed to go over to the United Kingdom to testify. That fell through. And it's just gone on and on and on. So now he's claims to be a media spokesperson for this Pentagon task force that came out of nowhere. He's latched on to the Ukraine. He's latched on to all the current stuff. And this is what he does. He runs around and he looks for current events that fits his narrative, and he inserts himself into it. He's done it with General Flynn and so on and so forth. Now, from what I understand, he's getting involved with K's that were here before we were, or some nonsense. But The thing of it is he makes himself out to be the most important person in the world when it comes to missing and abused children. Now, I'm not denying that there is abuses, sex trafficking, and all this stuff that's going on with the children. My argument is that he has absolutely nothing to do with it, and the things he's saying that are going on when it comes to cracking down on this simply are not happening. There was no 35 to 100,000 kids that were rescued out of caves. The Marines aren't blowing up the state of California. The Marines aren't blowing up wherever it is that this latest earthquake happened. And there are certainly nothing going on in New York City in the way this conspiracy theorist argues it is. It's all hogwash. And the problem with that is he distorts the truth. He takes attention away from the legitimate problem of child abuse, satanic ritual abuse, child trafficking, child sacrifice. All of that is being brushed aside simply to fill this idiot's narrative instead of concentrating on the true, the actual people that are behind this sort of thing. And that's where the focus needs to be. There needs to get to the true criminals in these things and not on these fictional activities that are going on, because it's doing harm to the children. And there are people that think that this is actually being done as a cover so that those people can get away with their crimes, because attention is being drawn away from them and over to this conspiracy theorist and his association that he has. He has not been responsible for saving one child, not one. And the investigations that are going on now by the federal government imply that he may have in fact been involved with Cynthia Absug and this kidnapping, and with other cases where he has caused harm. And the Weatherling case is a prime example. He has barged into that case. The people that are closest to that case are extremely upset with him because he's caused a tremendous amount of damage. And there was another case where he was claiming that the child that looked all beat up was part of something that she was not, and the guy actually had to go so far as to go on the internet and ask people to quit using her picture, that she's fine. And this is the problem. Tim gets involved in these cases and he ruins things for people. And, so it's unfortunate because time could be spent on legitimate cases, which I intend to start doing, instead of this conspiracy nonsense. He could have easily gone around this, telling the truth about what's going on, and he'd be in a better position than he is now. But he insists on lying. He's got to exaggerate everything in order to make himself feel important. And this is what I don't understand. He has the audience and the ability to do something constructive, and he's ruining it. Because he just goes off on these tangents, he goes off on this nonsense, and he's making himself, he's making himself and those around him look like absolute fools. Because he's probably lost more people than he's gaining, because people are beginning to realize how much of an idiot he is, and they want nothing to do with him. And so he's having to go to the fringes to find an audience. Mert got a prison buzz, yeah. Since these people are going to sit there and accuse me of making death threats and stuff, I suppose it's good to be prepared. Yeah, well, that's just that there's all kinds of interlopers out there that get involved in these missing child cases that don't know what the hell they're talking about, and they start saying these kids were sacrificed in rituals and all kinds of nonsense, and it's not helping to solve any cases, and it diminishes all of us on social media because we're looked at as a bunch of idiots by the mainstream media and by law enforcement. It makes that much harder for people on social media to be of any help to anybody when you got these nuts running around screwing things up. We have turned in, those of us on social media have turned into a joke by the mainstream media and by the public at large, because you see things being said by people like this conspiracy nut, and they figure we're all in the same fruit basket, and they want nothing to do with us. Well, the Wetterlings should do something about it, but the problem is number one, he doesn't have a penny to his name. He's probably making enough money to live on out of his car, and I almost can guarantee that the handlers are getting most of the money, and then he gets an allowance. That's the best way of looking at it, because his personal GoFundMe doesn't garner that much money. He's getting maybe a couple $100 a month, and there's not much you can do on $200 a month. So he's getting funding from outside sources besides his own personal GoFundMe page, and it's largely his handler, in my opinion, that's funding him, because she basically hangs on to every word. She republishes everything. She may even be writing this stuff, for all I know, and it's alleged that she is behind the High Command channel. So it's civil lawsuits are very expensive, number one, and unlike a criminal case, if there are no assets there for the lawyer to make his contingency fund on, he's going to charge you a hourly rate, and minimum of a couple $100 an hour. That adds up quickly. And so to prosecute someone like the conspiracy theorist or his handler would run into the tens of thousands of dollars, and it's just not worth it. Even if I were to do it pro se, which is extremely risky, there's all kinds of filing fees, discoveries, research fees, and things that I would have to pay for that would make it cost prohibitive. The conspiracy theorist has filed so many of these lawsuits as pro se that he is now labeled a vexatious litigant. And when you go through the filings and the costs that he's had to make in the filings alone, he's out a fairly large sum of money. So he spent money, or wasted it, on filing these frivolous lawsuits. And he has yet to win a single one of them. He has lost every single case that he is engaged in. And, he tried to sue me in Virginia, and the case was thrown out. So that didn't go anywhere. No, I do not. All the vehicles are gone. The only thing I have that was not part of the car lot, it was part of my leasing business, is the news van. I have that in storage. It does not run. It would cost me several $1,000s to get the thing back in running condition, so it's just parked. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it yet. It's got a lot of valuable equipment in it that I could probably sell off, but for right now it just sits in a storage lot. But all my inventory is gone. Yeah, I would expect that someday there's going to be another injunction come out of the woodwork against him, but the problem is he ignores them. He's got 4 of these things from Kim, and that's why he's out on the lam. It's because he just said, screw it, I'm not going to I'm not going to defend myself in court. I'm going to be like a little coward that I am, and I'm going to run away. And that's, as long as he maintains that attitude and ability to escape justice, it's not going to do any good. He's just going to keep it on. And now he's doing it through a third party. So, there's just, he's determined enough to tell these lies and put people's lives in danger, and he doesn't care. And it's going to take somebody getting injured or killed to have him stop. He's going to get somebody killed that he targets, and that's what's going to finally put a stop to it, because he'll have blood on his hands. He doesn't seem to comprehend that. He doesn't seem to comprehend that there's going to be some idiot vigilante that's part of this sovereign citizen group that's going to take the law in their own hands, and somebody's going to get shot. It's inevitable. It's either going to be me, it could be him, or it could be somebody else. Because he just keeps this on. I think he wants us all shot. Because you got this woman over on Facebook that posts a picture of my house and my address and accuses me of all this stuff and says, okay, everybody, report him to the cops. And some vigilante out there is going to say, well, fuck the cops, we'll take care of this ourselves, and that's going to be the end. There was a guy at one of these Preacher Dan things that actually claimed to have taken pictures of Kim Picasio and says, tell me what you want me to do and I'll go do it. And, I wouldn't be surprised if someday that guy doesn't take a pot shot at Kim or somebody else over there. Because not everybody can afford a security detail. I certainly can't. The sheriff comes around my property every once in a while because of the death threats against me. But other than that, they can't afford to be on a 24-hour watch over some retiree that's got people on the internet mad at them. So that, you can only go so far with that. And this is the reason Phil McConnell is where he's at, is because he made threats of violence against someone he has never met. And under Florida law, that's considered aggravating cyberstalking, and it's a felony. And so he's going to have to go to court and defend himself. Simple as that. Well, there is a rumor that someone that was hooked in by other members of this conspiracy group did commit suicide, because the advice that she followed made things a lot worse. She actually lost her children, so she just ended her life. That's the rumor. I haven't been able to track that case down. There's somebody that claimed that. Tom Morrissey, I believe, knows who the woman is. Yeah, you're correct. It did start about a decade ago. What's happened though with the sovereign citizen movement is a lot of people that have got involved with it that have violent tendencies. They have decided that violence is the answer. And the conspiracy theorist from Minnesota, who is on the lam, has joined up with these kind of people. That Phil McConnell actually called for the execution of Miss Picasio. It is understood that he's had a picture of her decapitated on his show. He's encouraged violence, and he is right up until even the booking in Florida claimed that he was being held by an illegitimate court. The bonding judge would not allow him to make that statement, but you knew from watching that arraignment that that's what he had in mind. Yeah, it's really odd what's going on in today's society. I don't know what to think anymore. I always thought common sense would prevail, but it's not looking that way. I've heard of a say it, Cappy. I would have to go and check into his situation because I can't remember exactly why I knew of him. Um, but it'd be one of these things I'd have to look into in order to give an informed decision, an informed opinion. Tom Morrissey has turned against the conspiracy theorists because of the accusations that were made. Uh, I would consider Morrissey a supporter of Donald Trump. He's right leaning. I don't know if he's extremist. He has his own opinions, as many of you do. Um, but he has turned against Holmseth, and for good reason. Tim Holmseth screwed him over big time, uh, and has accused him of being a pedophile. So everybody that goes against the grain with Holmseth becomes a pedophile. Every damn person, no exception at all. Everybody's a pedophile. Everybody's a part of this deep state stuff, and it just goes on and on and on. It's no black or right. You can't disagree with Tim Holmseth and not be a pedophile. It's not in the manual. Um, and so that's what you have to live with in this situation is that you just, you know, you're either with them or against them. Yeah, Martha, and they even, we had a problem here in Florida. They were going around, putting liens on people's houses. They were putting liens on judges' houses. They were putting liens on deputies' houses, and it created a hell of a mess in the court system until Florida got wise to what's going on, and they started arresting these people because people were getting foreclosed on and stuff by these sovereigns and finding themselves having to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars in court to try and get their house that they legally own back. And eventually, law enforcement cracked down on them, and they still pull this crap, but they're getting prosecuted more often now. Well, they might have been. That again is hearsay and speculation. That's stuff of the National Enquirer. I don't know what those two are doing. So that's just, you know, you can rumor monger on all day. It just seems strange that a married woman with children has gotten herself this tightly involved with Tim Holmseth. There's something fishy going on, even though Tim is supposed to have this other female companion that he was hanging around briefly, although you don't see much about that anymore. It's like that was like a brief fling or something, and then nothing's become of it since. And there was even some idiot up in New York City that claimed to have married Tim. That was another one. That was a funny one, because Tim completely ignored that woman. Of course, he couldn't pronounce his name right. I think that was just a troll. Yeah, the Blackmore is another one of these Yahoo groups, but they're learning an expensive lesson because people are getting wise to the sovereigns and they're not putting up with their nonsense. So, yeah, the good old drone. And they caught, according to the drone, there were supposed to be pictures of Kirk Pendergrass that he wasn't too happy about. Yeah, you got to be careful, Dwayne. That could be considered a death threat. You might find yourself being called on. You know, it's funny about because I went back and I watched that video that was made way back in April, and that was not a threat. It was a warning that the people that he was hanging around with might not have his safety at heart, and that at any time he might wish that he had not joined that group, and that they may deal with him violently. But I thought that was kind of funny. And so far, I haven't had a SWAT team banging on my front door. So, but I took the precaution of calling over to the law enforcement agency that has jurisdiction here, and letting them know what was reported, and they kind of laughed and said, "Yeah, we kind of figured that was going to happen." Because I've been in constant contact with them over the years because of various things that have been going on. Yeah, that part really, they used a rather obscure interpretation of unused abandoned property and stuff like that. And the problem with that is the homeowner has to go to court to prove that they had no business being there. And it doesn't cost the sovereigns any money, but it costs the homeowner money, and eventually they get kicked out. And of course, they destroy the house in the process. And there's nothing that can be done about it. It's just, these people just don't care. They're a bunch of idiots. They have no conscience. They just, I don't know what it is that's in that moonshine that they drink. Well, the only thing that these people need to think of that threaten me, that they're going to come down here like that guy Malik said he was going to do, is that we have a castle doctrine and the stand your ground law in Florida. And all they have to do is remember Zimmerman v. Florida to understand that if somebody comes in your door and they look like they're going to do harm to you, you can force them to leave in a body bag. Because this mobile home that I'm in is on private property. It's not on public property. This is an adult park. It's private property, and if you're not a resident of this park, you're not allowed to be in here. And so whoever comes here to confront me would be trespassing, number one, and that's the first indicator that you're on solid ground with stand your ground. And then the second is, if you feel your life is in danger, you can use deadly force. And so all I'd have to do is show them Tim Holmes's blog and Randy's blog, and they'd say, well, that was clear cut. So that would be the end of that. Well, Marty, he does it for the attention. It's the only reason he does it. You confront him. It doesn't do any good to confront him, and that's one of the reasons that I'm stopping making videos and stuff about him, is because he thrives on it. He has absolutely no conscience. He doesn't care about the fact that he lies. He knows that he's lying, and he keeps it up. And nobody's going to talk him out of it. And people that talk him out of it, like Tom, get persecuted, not only by Tim, but by this weird bunch of enablers that surround him. So the only thing you can do is ignore him into obscurity. He goes off on these wild tangents when he's ignored, and I guarantee you over the next few days, as the videos don't show up anymore on my channel and I start doing other things, he's gonna blow a cork. He did it with my blogs, and now he's gonna do it with my YouTube, because he portrays himself as a victim, and he's not a victim. He creates victims. Well, I'm sorry to cause people's worries. What basically happened is I got extremely busy yesterday, and I simply ran out of time. I could not get to. It takes me about 45 minutes to set things up in order to make sure that the show runs right. If I rush it, it goes downhill. And I was busy right up until 11 o'clock my time with several things yesterday. And all I just wanted to put together a quick video to explain that I was not going to be, yawn alert. I wanted to do a quick video explaining that I was not going to be on the air last night, that I just ran out of time. I had important things that I had to deal with, and information that was flooding into me that I had to deal with, and I'm still dealing with. I'm having a busier schedule now that I'm in more or less a quarantine than I was when I was out and about going to the airport and doing my thing there. I've completely run out of time. Retiring isn't all rest. It's a lot of stuff going on. I've got a busy Monday. I'm going to be calling courthouses all over the country. I've got software I've got to look into that I've got to get up and running. I've got to get the equipment for the Murtathons ready for the end of May for the live streams. So there's a lot on my plate right now. So, that's one of the reasons why I've had to cut back on doing the daily Murtathons, is I simply don't have time. That cuts into 3 hours of time I need for something else. So that's basically what I'm doing. When I can, I do the mobile-thons and the Murtalogs, so that I give 5-10 minute videos from time to time on different subjects. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be diversifying, and part of what I'm doing over the next few days is I'm going to be diversifying, because I got to make sure I find useful content that I can put up here and have people interested in, and that's going to be in the nature of the truth about things that are going on, truth about child trafficking, truth about the pedophilia, truth about what may be going on with CPS and some of this other stuff, and not go off on these wild conspiracy theories about kids in caves and blowing up California and stuff like that. That's just not going to happen, because I don't believe in that stuff. People want to discuss that stuff, they need to go elsewhere. Yeah, I'm sorry I worried people. I didn't mean to do that. What the hell is a coon cat? Well, all you can do is take things one day at a time, Marty. You never know what's around the corner. If you're not looking for something, it usually comes your way. I found that happens a lot with me. Yeah, a lot of places are pretty strict on cars. That's usually in your HOA communities. You have to register your car and everything. Here, we can have 2 cars in our driveway. They don't watch us so much as far as who owns the car. You're allowed to have 2 cars in your driveway, and they do have a storage place here in the complex where you can store things. Right now, I've got my car and my motorcycle in my driveway, and I've got my Ford Escape sitting in the back. Oh, you ought to put a picture up of that sometime. I'd like to see I'll have to look that up on Google. Big, furry, beautiful cat. I I like I like furry cats. Bubba, he was not really furry. He was just a cat. Matter of fact, I'm gonna take a break of my own. I'll be back in a minute. I'm gonna go get another Pepsi and so on and so forth. So don't go away. I'll be back. Dang, 40 pounds. That's a big cat. Jeez. Goodness gracious. Oh no, that's a dog. Okay. I'm gonna say 50 pounds. That's a big cat. 35 pounds is big enough. 2-year-old cat. Interesting. You'll have to post a picture of that somewhere. I'd love to see a picture of that. I'll have to look on. I'm gonna look on Google and see what they look like. Yeah, Levi, that sounds like Bubba, because that's all Bubba did. That was the laziest cat in the world. He just lay around and sleep all day. And unfortunately, one day he went to sleep and never woke up again. But no more cats. I've got 2 dogs. That's all I can. I can't handle any more animals than that. Boxador. That has to be an interesting looking dog, a Boxador. Yeah, calicos are good cats. That was Bubba. Uh, they call them, it's called a domestic, they have a name for them, is basically just a common house cat. Uh, Sounds like a boxer and a Labrador mix. Uh, yeah, Bubba, let me see if I still got a picture of him somewhere. He's just, but somebody told me one time what that breed was. And I don't think they said it was a coon cat or, any of that. It was just a cat. No, it doesn't look like I have a. I got a picture of them over in. Let me see. I may have a picture of them over in another. Yeah, there's a good old. Yeah, I got that Amber, who is what they call a long-haired dachshund, but I think she's a mix. And then they've got. Let's see, let me. See if I can find. I don't remember how to find. How the hell do you find your pages? That's pages. I don't have it on there. Okay, there we go. Ugh. See if I can find Bubba in here. And let's see. No, it doesn't look. I thought maybe I had that thing archived and jeez, I thought I had more. I thought I had more pictures in this. It's not showing me all my pictures on Facebook, which is where I thought I had them. Oh well. He's over on the other computer. I'll tell you what, Alex has got the friendliest boxer in the world. That dog would not leave me alone. I mean, she wanted to be petted no matter what. A friend of mine had a Rottweiler. God, those things are solid as a rock. Friendly damn dog. As long as the owner likes you, that dog will love you. Very protective though. He had to use a logging chain on her. That was a very strong dog. Yeah, Bubba did his own thing. He was like a piece of furniture. Yeah, I believe I did, Dodger. The one with the 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's see. Right, yeah, I haven't seen this latest one. Or maybe I have. Let me, okay, I'm gonna mute this because you got copyrighted music on here again. And there's a link for anybody that hasn't seen it. Let me, welcome back, pack. Yeah, I don't think I've seen this one yet. I'll have to watch it after the show. That's a big wolf. Jesus. Cats are supposed to be nocturnal. They play at night. That police pursuit is funny, using almost the exact card that he has. Funny. That is too funny. That ought to roast his peanuts when he sees that one. He doesn't like us paying attention to him. The heat is on. Oh, I like that song. They use that in the Eddie Murphy movie, Beverly Hills Cop. Virginia. Yeah, that's a long video. 4 minutes. That's slick that you found that car. Jeez. Oh, those things are big. Yeah, there's a lot of good music out there. Unfortunately, you can't use it if you're going to monetize. And what pisses me off, I even had, I went out and paid $200 for this piece of software, and the damn music can't be used because it's copyrighted. I don't know why they put that in the software. I wrote a rather nice letter to the company saying, if I had known that, I wouldn't have bought the software, because now the new software, it's licensed music that I can use, however I want. And some of the YouTube music that's on their production page can also be, this guy's really thinking he's going to get away. Funny. I'll definitely watch this video. Good job, Dodge. Ugh. I think the video is mainly for the music. You got a good taste in music. The poor pits. Now Cheryl's son has a pit, and that is the sweetest dog in the world. Her daughter has a couple of pits, and they're both very good dogs. I see no problem with pit bulls at all. It's the only thing, they get a bad rap because people ruin them for fighting. Australian Shepherd. Yeah, they're an interesting dog. Some of the coats on the Australian Shepherd, very interesting. Yeah, everybody that hasn't done so, be sure to subscribe to Levi's YouTube channel. He does a very good job with true crime reporting, so he's definitely worth turning into. He's got a lot of experience. Every once in a while, he has interesting guests on. So, give him a shot. What's funny is even when Levi and I were having a pissing match against each other, I always liked his talent. Because, it's just talent outweighs anything. If someone's good at their job, you might as well give them credit for it. Well, you'll find, Dodger, that I like all kinds of music. Yeah, I'm into the 70s and 80s, but there's a lot of modern music that I like. Um, that's, there's a lot of new stuff coming out that, it's targeted towards the millennials and so on, younger, and the X-Geners and so forth, but I still like their music, because talent is talent. A lot of good talent coming up through the ranks. I try not to get stuck on a 1 year. Um, God, a bulldog, sir. Yeah, that must have been one temperamental little dog. Not exactly little. Yeah, it seems the newer the music, the more that YouTube will enforce the copyrights on it. Some of the old music you can get away with as long as it's not monetized. My problem is that they did a notice to me on Strangers in the Night when I put that up. It wasn't a copyright strike, but they said I can't make money off of that video. Um, and since I'm not monetized yet, it doesn't make any difference. But once if I get into a thing where I can put up a super chat or something, then or allow advertising, then I would have to. I wouldn't be able to. That video would. They said that what would happen is that the people that own the music could put advertising on my video that contained their music, which is fine with me. Wow, that's a big dog. Yeah, they tend to be a little mean. You gotta really be the right owner for a dog like that. So they gotta be sure. They gotta know who the alpha dog is. But Alex's boxer, that dog's a big softy. That's funny as heck. Yeah, almost the second I walked in the door, that dog was all over me wanting to get petted. And I scratched that dog, and that was it. That dog would not leave me alone. And it's hard to do an interview when you got Winnie running around. And she had another dog. She had Wilson, who sadly passed away a while back, and he's just a laid-back old dog. He just laid there and just watched the whole show, didn't do much anything. Kind of reminds me of Skippy. He just lays there. Won't come when called. Skippy won't come when called unless there's food involved. You know, if I put down a little bit of food for him and yell his name, he's on that food like a lion in a hunt. Yeah, I'm dogged out too. They have a limit of 2 dogs here at the park anyway. And, I was able to get away with 2 dogs and a cat until Bubba left us. So I was lucky there. And I don't know if birds count, because I've always wanted an African gray. But, they're expensive. If anybody has an African gray that I can adopt, I'd be glad to take it off your hands. Although I don't know how I'd pick it up if it's out of state. But that's what's funny. I'm involved with an organization called Pilots and Paws, and they transport animals all over the country. My favorite band, believe it or not, is Pink Floyd. Um, um, Favorite album, of course, is you got Pink Floyd, The Wall. You got Dark Side of the Moon. But I just like their style of music, and of course, I can't remember the name of the group right now, but I had a theme song that I used back when I was live streaming that I can't use anymore because of the copyright, and that's Eye in the Sky. And it was just that was my intro for my live streams way back when. And I'm thinking about coming up with intro music. I'm gonna have to find stock music. There's a couple things that I use. Wow. Speaking of dogs, folks, here's the queen of the castle. Amber has come out to make her appearance. Oop. And I've got the screen cropped, so I gotta get her to where she stays in the green screen. Yeah. Yeah, how you doing? Yeah. As long as I scratch her, she'll stay still. She loves that. See how she loves that? Blep. And this is not a puppy. This little girl here is 7, 8 years old. Had her for years, and she'll be a forever puppy. Alan Parsons process. Yeah, that was the music. So I liked his stuff. But I have a wide variety. Yeah, Eye in the Sky. That was the name of it. But I use that as my opener on my live streams for almost 2 years. But this is she's a wiener dog. But she's considered a long-haired dachshund, although the face. I look at the face and I kind of think she's got a little bit of Cocker Spaniel in there. But she was a rescue. Okay. Go. Ah. Damn thing sheds. When I wear my black Bubba shirt, it shows up. The golden hair kind of blends with my UFO shirt, so. Yes, she does. Yeah, that dog, you will never get that dog to sleep. I even put a little doggy bed on the floor of the bedroom. She won't go near it. And even when we're not in the bedroom, sometimes she'll go in there and sleep. But, yeah, she sleeps in the bed, Skippy sleeps on the floor. I got a big fan in the living room. We turn the fan on, and he sleeps in front of the fan. Oh, yeah, she's a cute little thing. Well, actually, it's me tapping away on the typewriter. Yeah, we brush her quite a bit. She loves being brushed. Skippy likes being brushed too. That dog is like a cat. He just goes and lays down where he feels like it. Yeah, and in order to get him over here, I'd have to go over and get him and haul him over here. He doesn't come over on his own. Sometimes he will.
You want me to bring him over?
Yeah, bring him over. I think people might want to see Skippy. That's Cheryl in the background. Yeah, Skippy's like a guy who's waiting for a kid to be born. He paces all over the place. Okay. Come here, Skippy. Oh, my God. Blah. This is Skippy. Blah. Yeah, Amber's jealous. Okay, calm down. Calm down. Yeah, go to mouth. Okay. Come on, let's get you on camera. There you go. That's Skippy. Yeah, he just kind of sits there and says, okay, now what? So I can stop petting him. He looks around, says, hi, everybody. That's me. And this dog he's a heavy little sucker. But I have to back up to get him in the shot. But that's old Skippy. Ugh. So that's the rat crack. Got the two of them sniffing. Okay, Amber. Calm down. Amber jealous. She said, why are you petting that guy? Yeah. Now I got black dog. I got gold and black dog hair on me now. Whew. Skippy the wolf. Yeah, he looks like a little wolf. Doesn't have a tail though. The Shapeaks don't have tails. They're like Welsh Corgis and some of the other breeds. They don't have tails. It's kind of weird. He used to sit there and until his legs got weak, he'd have a wiggle butt. He'd sit there if he was happy, his whole body would do the wiggle. It's kind of like he was doing a barrel dance on 4 feet. Yeah, he owns the both of us. Ugh. But he's a furry sucker. That dog's... But he's the easiest dog in the world to care for. He eats and sleeps. That's all he does. Well, he goes to the bathroom too. So, you take him for a walk. But, he's just a very laid-back dog. Doesn't do a thing. Amber, she's restless as hell. Now, he'll pace for whatever reason. He'll just walk. He gets his little exercise. He walks back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. When you take him out, the dog loves to walk. You have to be a little careful of him, though. He's got bad legs. You sit there and you start scratching his back, and he just, boom, down he goes. Oh, my God. Yeah, that would be a challenge. I think I'm going to keep my 2 fur kids. I'm used to them. Well, good night, Dwayne. Thanks for coming in. I'll be doing another live stream Friday, unless things happen during the week. Of course, I do my recorded stuff during the week when I'm able to. So feel free to come back at any time. Now, property of the doggies here. No such thing as a dog master in this house. I'm amazed this camera's not acting up tonight. I've been having problems with this camera going out of focus, and I was going to replace it with another camera, but it seems to be behaving itself. And I finally got the settings right on the room. Now I've just got to learn how to, learn how to do my cues a little bit better, and I'm going to be setting up, my next step is going to be setting up my stream deck so that I can do that. But I should have put this up earlier. This is just a little reminder for everybody to like and subscribe. Yeah, that's usually the way they are. They allow you to live with them. I mean, every time I go, if I go like I'm going to head for the front door, Amber goes completely nuts. I mean, she'll bark her full head off. And if I'm, when I'm sitting in my lounge chair on my other computer doing stuff and I get up like I'm going to go into the back bedroom, she'll have a fit. I mean, you can't, the minute she sees that keyboard move off my lap, she starts up. Funny little dog. Yeah, I love that video. Keep cranking those suckers out. I love watching them. Yeah. Let me do one last run around the block, and then I'm going to call it. It's the 12 o'clock hour. And I think I think everybody passed out. So yeah, things have calmed down for the night. And with the exception of one troll, everybody behaved themselves tonight. Well, here we go. Who the hell is Leona Hemsley? Oh. Well, flying monkeys, you can go fly back to the witch. The blizzard wish. Bye-bye. Well, flying monkeys, you must not have gotten the bulletin yesterday, but your boyfriend and I will not be contacting each other anymore. I'm moving away from that little twerp. So why don't you go watch his music videos and comment on his little music videos, because he is going to be person non grata here. I have no interest in that idiot. He can go make a fool of himself until his heart's content. So just go away. And as soon as I find... And flying monkeys, don't let the door hit you in the ass on the way out. Bye-bye. And that takes care of the flying monkey. Send him back to the blizzard witch. Because I am not going to tolerate the trolls anymore. Either moderate or anybody else is free to kick these trolls out the second they show up. Because I'm done with them. It's funny. It's always at midnight that this one shows up. It must be after she closes the store she comes in. Because that store closed. I checked and her store closes at midnight. Kind of weird for a pizza company, but that's the way it goes. So that's how I figured out who it was. Well, that's alright, moderate. You'll have your chance another day because they'll be back. Oh, you got one. Yeah, I thought I kicked that person out of here. She got around my band. But, the message is out there, and this is for all you conspiracy theorist supporters. I will not be discussing that person by name as much as I can in this room. His name is not to be mentioned. The other person's name is not going to be mentioned. I'm just not going to talk about him. I might write an article or two in my blog, but I still will not mention the person's name. But I'm done with him. I'm not going to give him the attention he does not deserve. He can go and make a fool out of himself with his other conspiracy nuts to their heart's content. They're not going to do it here. So, with that, guys, I think I'm going to call it a night. I do appreciate y'all being around. Unless something comes up, I will be back Friday. but I will be over on Twitter, so you can always contact me on Twitter. You can contact me by email, and so on and so forth. I would like suggestions as to things to talk about. I will be looking into a couple suggestions that have already come my way, and we'll do what we can. And again, like and subscribe. If you know anybody that might be interested in this channel, send them on over. Everybody's welcome. Regardless of political persuasion, we're going to try to avoid talking about politics here. I might try a couple of experiments during the week, the yardathon, bikeathon, so on and so forth, because I've got a couple little projects in the can here that I'll be doing. So, in closing, you all have a good night. Be safe. Don't get sick. And all that good stuff. This is William K. Murtaugh. With this one. Have a good one.